Welcome in, everybody. Today we're diving into a topic that's always changing, right in front of us even, the English language. And not like, your typical grammar stuff, but how the internet is completely changing how we speak and write.
It really makes you think, we often see language change as this slow process happening over like centuries. But the internet, it's like hitting fast forward on all that.
Okay, so let's break that down. I mean, we all know about internet slang and memes, right? But how has the internet really changed English on a fundamental level?
Well, to get that, we have to rewind a bit. Think
Okay.
about it. The internet, back in its early days with ARPANET, was mostly an American thing.
Oh,
So that means the coding languages, those early protocols, everything, it all started with English at its core.
So English had like a home field advantage right from the start.
Exactly. And that advantage just kept building. When Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, the first browsers, the server software, English, 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 it's like the internet's linguistic DNA was set right there.
Makes sense. But it's not like everyone back then was speaking English fluently. So how'd that affect how the internet grew?
Well, as the internet got more commercial in the 90s, those big platforms, they mostly launched in English, right? Many added other languages later on, sure. But English stayed that common ground. It became the lingua franca, that shared language of the digital world.
So even if you weren't a native English speaker, you were bound to run into it online, especially if you wanted to be a part of this whole expanding digital thing.
Exactly. This historical context is really important because it shows how the internet actually changed English itself. It's not just that English spread more, but the internet started changing how English works.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. So how did the internet change the English language beyond just like typing LOL instead of laughing out loud?
Oh, it goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
Think about how many new words and phrases we use now because of the internet. Social media especially, it's like a breeding ground for new language.
Okay, give me some examples then. Always looking to learn new words.
When's the last time you Googled something?
Just now, actually.
Exactly. To Google is a verb now, universally. Or think about Facebook. Suddenly we friend people. And sometimes we got to unfriend them.
And don't forget how words get totally different meanings online. Like salty used to be for food. Now it's like someone's attitude, right?
Right. Or tea, not just a drink anymore, especially with all the online gossip. The internet breathes new life into old words, gives them whole new meanings. And what's really cool is these changes, they reflect what online communities care about, how they experience the world.
It's like the internet's this giant language lab experimenting all the time.
And those experiments, they spread so fast. Like a slang word born on Twitter this morning could be an everyday conversation by tonight. That speed, it's unheard of in how languages usually evolve.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Something starts online, then boom, it's just how we talk now. But it's not just new words, is it? It's like the internet's got its own grammar rules too, right?
You hit the nail on the head. How we write sentences online, the punctuation or lack of it, even capitalization, it's all been shaped by the digital world.
Almost like we're making a whole new dialect. Internet English.
Exactly. And it's constantly shifting, which makes it both fascinating and a little tricky to keep up with. This leads to another big impact, how the internet's changing how we learn, especially when it comes to learning English itself.
Makes sense. I'd imagine a lot of learning online happens in English.
Oh, absolutely. Just look at the numbers. In 2021, Coursera, they had over 20 million new students signing up. A huge chunk of online courses, especially from those big-name universities, they're in English. We're talking about a global classroom, and very often English is the language everyone's expected to know.
So it's like the internet's breaking down those old barriers of learning a new language, at least when it comes to English.
Exactly. Think about this. In 2022, the global market for learning English as a second language online, $10 billion.
Wow.
That's almost a quarter, like 22% of the entire ESL market. It shows you how much things are shifting, how people are learning English all over the world.
Those are some serious numbers. But is it all good? I mean, are there downsides to English being so dominant in online learning?
Well, like anything, there's two sides.
Right.
Some people say this focus on English online, it might actually hurt how diverse languages are in the long run.
How so?
Because if everyone's learning English online, what happens to other languages,
Yeah.
especially ones that aren't as widely spoken?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we're so busy with digital English that we forget about all these other languages, all that richness and variety.
It's a tricky thing. No easy answers. How do we keep digital communication open to everyone, celebrating all those different languages, but also recognizing how important English is for the world to talk to each other? That's something we got to figure out as we go deeper into this digital age.
It's a tough balance for sure. But beyond just words, the spoken and written kind, the internet's created whole new ways of talking to each other. Emojis, memes, GIFs. It's like this visual language is popping up right in front of us.
And the cool thing is how these visuals can bridge the gap when words just don't cut it. Take emojis.
Right.
They're pretty much universal now. People who don't speak the same language can still share emotions, ideas, even tell whole stories, just with those tiny little pictures.
Totally. Sometimes the right emoji says it all. What about memes, though? They seem a bit more, I don't know, niche.
You might think so, but memes have become this powerful tool for cultural commentary, social critique, even political stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're like modern hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
Getting across these complex ideas in a quick, often funny way. And because they're so visual, they often rely on shared references,
Yeah.
so they can actually jump over language barriers way better than traditional communication sometimes.
So you're saying a meme, like a picture with some words on it, can be this deep statement about what it means to be human.
Maybe not always deep, but definitely relatable. That's the beauty of memes, right? They tap into what we all go through, our worries, the funny absurdity of it all. And it feels personal, but also like everyone gets it at the same time. Memes are their own language, always changing, adapting to whatever's happening on the internet.
So it's like memes skip needing the same vocabulary and go straight for that shared human experience thing.
Exactly. And don't forget how they change language itself. Words and phrases from memes. They end up in our everyday conversations all the time. Lit, mood, fam. All that started as internet slang, and now you hear it everywhere.
It's kind of wild how something goes from a small online group to, like, the dictionary almost.
It shows you how blurry the lines gotten between online and offline language. Something starts as a joke on Twitter, and next thing you know, it's just what people say. But zooming out from just English, it's worth thinking about how the internet changes how we communicate as a species.
Big question. I mean, on the one hand, it's given us all these ways to connect that we never had before. We can talk to people across the world, share ideas, build communities around the things we love, stuff we couldn't even imagine just a few decades ago.
It's like everyone's got a voice now, a potential platform to reach the whole planet. But while the internet's let us talk on this global scale, in some ways, it's also made communication more fragmented.
Fragmented. What do you mean by that?
Think about it. Echo chambers, filter bubbles, all these online groups that are getting more and more divided, where people mostly talk to others who already agree with them. It's like we're all at this giant online party, but everyone's huddled in their own corners, having the same conversations with the same people.
It's like this weird contradiction, right? The internet connects the whole world, but it can also make us less connected in how we actually talk to each other.
Yeah, it's a real head scratcher. We've got this huge opportunity, but it comes with a whole new set of problems. And it's on us,
Yeah.
not just as individuals, but everyone together to figure out how to handle these powerful tools.
It's a lot to think about, but honestly, going through all this, I kind of feel optimistic. Like, yeah, there are challenges, but the internet's brought this wave of creativity with language we've never seen before.
For sure. New words, new ways of putting sentences together, even totally new ways of communicating are popping up all the time.
It's like watching language evolve right before our eyes, and it's happening so fast.
And the coolest part is that nobody knows what's next.
We've got front row seats to the future of how humans talk to each other.
Exactly. And you don't need to be a linguist or anything to be a part of it. Just go with the flow, experiment, don't worry too much about getting things right. Who knows, you might invent the next LOL, the next big hashtag, anything's possible.
Challenge accepted. But seriously, this deep dive's really shown me how important it is to think about the words we use online, whether we're typing them out or not.
Couldn't agree more. Words have power. And online, that power is amplified. It's up to all of us to use that power for good, to build connections, help people understand each other, and make the whole digital world a little more welcoming and kind.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into how the internet's changing language, one last thought for you all listening out there. What if the internet isn't just changing how we use language, but actually changing how we think? Food for thought as we navigate this wild world of the web.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy chatting, posting, sharing those memes. Remember, the internet might be changing the rules of the game, but ultimately, we're the ones writing the future.